Hello, welcome to my channel. Nail check. Today I'm gonna be talking about autism TikTok. Specifically, I'm gonna be talking about the videos that describe traits that can be associated with autism, but aren't necessarily symptoms of autism. I have noticed, especially if you look in the neurospicy tag, there are so many videos where it's kind of like pseudoscience to me, where people are saying, if you do this, you might have autism. And I feel like there's a very strong distinction between these are traits found in autistic people that autistic people happen to have at higher rates versus this is a sign of autism. And a lot of times on these videos, I'll see comments saying, oh my God, this is how I find out I have autism. I completely understand and appreciate the desire to relate to something and to feel like, to be able to look at something and say, that's why I do that, you know? But I'm just curious. I went through and I found a bunch of TikToks and I haven't necessarily watched all of them through. And I want to see if, according to TikTok, if I have autism. Since it seems like it's a very easy diagnosis to obtain through TikTok, my official guess is that it's going to be a yes. Feel free to play along if you want to tally up the score for yourself. Let me know if you think you're going to be autistic or not, and let me know what your score is. I want to say, too, before I start, no hate to anybody in these videos. Like I said, I appreciate wanting to feel connected to a community and understood, and like, maybe these things aren't so bad. You know, these are just normal traits I have. I know I definitely have a lot of things that I see these videos and I say, oh, I do that. So absolutely, like, no shade to anybody. I just feel like maybe we start running out of things to say about autism and we start saying, you sleep on your stomach, that's autism. It also, one of the things that bothers me is when people speak so matter-of-factly about it, so black and white, so definitively, this is autism. Is people speaking so matter-of-factly and so black and white about an issue? Could that be because they are autistic and that's an autism trait? Yes. But does it annoy me? Yes. That being said, I'm going to go through these videos and I'm going to tally up what I relate to and what I don't relate to. Also, let me say, I think self-diagnosis is valid. Maybe this is a little bit of a hot take. I don't think you can diagnose yourself, but I think if you find something and it resonates with you, and moving forward under the assumption that this is your diagnosis, if that makes your life easier, go for it. If it helps you seek out better medical and mental health care, do it. If it helps you find coping strategies that are more tailored to you, do it. Love that. If you feel like it resonates to you and you don't have the means to get an official diagnosis, I get it, especially if you live in America. It's rough. It's hard to get diagnosed with basically anything, especially if you are a woman, especially if you're a person of color, but I digress. So if you find community and you follow these hashtags and you feel good, go for it. I just take issue with the quirkifying of autism. So I'm going to start with this first video.
Ways that neurodivergent people engage with music. You might find a new song that just hits all the dopamine receptors in the right way and play that song nonstop for 2 weeks straight. You might become really interested in a particular artist to the point where they literally become a special interest of yours and you learn everything you can about them and dive really, really deep into the fandom of that particular artist. Music might be one of the tools you reach for when you need a little bit of extra help regulating your emotions or your nervous system. If you are a person that experiences alexithymia, which is a difficulty putting words to the emotions that you're feeling, you might find a lot of comfort in the lyrics of the music that you enjoy because they're doing just that. They're helping you come up with the words that are describing the feelings that you experience as a human. When listening to really powerful music, musically or lyrically or emotionally, you may experience something called frisson, which is the chills that you get. They usually start in the back of your neck, and then it sort of like fans out from there up to your head, down through your limbs. Leave me some comments below if any of this stuck out to you. Other ways that you experience music as a neurodivergent person. I'd love to hear your thoughts.
So the first point, finding a song and listening to it nonstop. I definitely do that. I haven't done it in a while. For a good minute, it was Rocky Road to Dublin from Sinners. And then it was Touch It, Touch It, Touch Me from Rocky Horror. And then a lot of times it'll be Paper Bag or Get Gone by Fiona Apple. That is definitely something I do where I drive 2 to 3 hours a day for my job, and I can listen to 2, 3, even one song back to back to back, and it doesn't lose its spark for quite a while. As far as taking special interest in a genre or an artist, that one I don't really relate to. When I found Fiona Apple, I listened to a lot of her songs, and I would listen to almost exclusively Fiona Apple for a very long time, but I didn't dive super far into learning about the fandom and her history and, you know, all the ins and outs and her life growing up, all that I feel like is what this person is getting at. Using music for emotional regulation? Absolutely, yes, I do. If I'm in the car with my partner, I have trauma being in cars, so I'll start, especially weirdly, it's if someone else is driving is when it's really bad. So if he's driving, a lot of times I have to put the seat back and close my eyes, and I listen to music and I sing along. That helps me to regulate. That helps me to soothe my, what's it called? Singing like stimulates the vagus nerve, right? So that helps me a lot. It helps me calm down, helps me stay regulated, and it's something I enjoy doing. Not very good at singing, but it's still something I love to do. I definitely do relate to that. I don't have alexithymia. I've always been, sometimes I do struggle to put the specificity of my feelings into words, but I don't struggle to identify generally, I'm feeling anxious, I'm feeling angry, I'm feeling sad, I'm feeling happy, any of that. Sometimes it's hard for me to identify the cause of it or like what I need to help it, but other than that, don't think I ever really, no, I don't relate to that. Frisson, I feel like everybody experience, am I wrong? If I'm wrong about anything, let me know. I feel like everybody experiences that to some extent, especially with live music, but I think she's talking specifically about like just listening to music through your phone, through the radio, headphones, whatever. I experienced it with Rocky Road to Dublin. I turned the bass up in my car, and I was listening to it in my car through the speakers for the first time, and it hit harder than watching it in theaters for some reason. Hearing like the drums and the bass and all that, I did like, oh, I'm getting chills just thinking about it. When it's good music and it's well composed, I feel like that's a pretty average reaction. So that's 3 points for yes, neurodivergent, 2 points for no.
I do what? What'd you say?
When you do this with your face in front of me, that's making me feel uncomfortable.
Okay, my apologies.
All right.
So, when I do this, you can't think straight?
It's not that I think straight. It's gonna make me feel uncomfortable.
Okay.
This one made me giggle a little bit because I remember so clearly as a child, I didn't have the words to express it, but I told my mom, I don't like when you make this face. I'd be asking to go somewhere or do something, and she would say, no, sorry, we can't do it. And it made me so angry. I don't think it's necessarily causing overstimulation. It made me mad. It made me so mad because it's like she's saying like, too bad. I feel like kids are often dismissed and their feelings are dismissed and not taken seriously because they're kids, and that's how I felt as a kid. Unrelated, but I also remember like adults laughing at me all the time, and it made me so upset, and I didn't have the words for it, but I was like, I'm not trying to be funny. They are laughing at me. I don't know what this is, but it doesn't feel good. So I'm gonna put a point for that one because I relate hard to that.
3 ways I can tell if you're neurodivergent. Disclaimer, I am not a diagnostic person. Don't take this as absolute fact, and I'm just giving my experience as an autistic person. Okay, number 1, if you talk to me, and as you're talking to me like this because you're thinking about what you're saying, and when you give eye contact, you can't think about what you're saying. Number 2, if you intensely talk about your special interests, and 9 times out of 10, conversation always steers back to your special interest because it's the only thing that you enjoy or are good at talking about. And number 3, if you are so anxiety riddled that it is within your whole body. That's not to say that you can't not have anxiety with autism/neurodivergency. I'm just yet to see that in real life, because growing up in a world that isn't built for you is going to make you anxious because you're taught that the way you are is wrong. And maybe there are non-anxious neurodivergents out there. If there are, please drop advice down below because I would love to not have anxiety. But that's just the way it is.
I appreciate that she said, this is not a diagnostic tool. I am not a diagnostic person. These are just my observations. I relate hard to the looking up while talking. I find myself doing that a lot. I don't do it so much with my partner. And now that I started doing it, it's actually very comfortable, and I like it way more than looking at the camera or looking at myself. She kind of ate with that one. Talking about special interests, I make a very active effort not to just talk about what I want to talk about. I try very hard to let people talk about what they want to talk about, and I try not to bring up my special interests very often. My current special interest is Degrassi: The Next Generation. It's been that. Yeah, and if I hear Party on You by Charlie XCX, yeah, I'm going to talk about the edit in which JT threw a party for liberty, and then he, if someone mentions an abortion, I'm going to be like, Manny did that. Manny did that. My friend Manny, Manny Santos. Manny bout that action Santos. Yeah, she did that. Anxiety. It's weird and it's hard to explain. I do experience anxiety, but it is no longer debilitating. It stopped being debilitating probably around the time I was 22, 23. Honestly, to some extent, I think I just got lucky and kind of grew out of it. So that's 2-1. What's the score right now? I'll add it up later. Aaron, you can do it in post. Sorry. Not very funny, and you don't seem very sorry. So this one was posted in 2023, so I can't say if this person still feels this way. Saying random things that are actually autistic traits. To me, that means if you experience this, that's a trait of autism. I can't remember phone numbers. I do have a bad sense of direction. I was not a thumbsucker. I do dislike physical... See, that one's tough. That one's tough. Because I'm a bit of a cuddle bug. I can't lie. I love to snuggle. I love to get cozy. I like to get snug as a bug in a rug. But it just says disliking physical contact. I don't hug my sister. I hug my mom probably like once or twice a week. That's it. And then my partner. I don't hug my best friend. I don't like cuddle with her. Like I don't know why. I don't know why. I don't even like shaking hands. It just feels wrong to, not morally wrong, but like just incorrect for me personally to be doing. I do abandon conversations due to anxiety or boredom. I try very hard to make friends, especially like on Bumble BFF, and I have met so many cool people, and then I ruin it by just not texting back, and then it'll be so long that I'm like, well, I can't text back now. That's 4 for autism, 1 for neurotypical.
Here are the 5 autism signs that nobody puts on the list. First of all, make sure you watch this to the end, save it to come back to, follow for more. These are the ones you never see on the posters, but every autistic person will recognise. Number 1, you have an encyclopedic memory for specific things, but absolutely no memory for some of the things that people consider basic. So you can recall a conversation that you had in 2009, but you will forget what you had for lunch. Number 2, injustice physically hurt, not metaphorically. When something unfair happens, whether it's to you or to someone else, your body responds to it like a threat, because to your nervous system, it really is. Number 3, you need to know the plan. All of it, in advance. Changes to the plan, even good ones, can completely derail you. And that's not about you being rigid, it's about your brain trying to feel safe. 4, you replay conversations for days. And not because you're anxious. Well, not just because you're anxious, but because your brain is trying to process and decode what everybody meant. 5, you can tell immediately when someone is performing. You have the most powerful radar for authenticity. And that's part of why small talk that you don't mean is almost physically impossible for you. And also why you can spot BS a mile off, even if you may not know exactly why. Which one of these made you feel called out? Tell me.
I don't have an encyclopedic knowledge of anything. I wish I did. And sometimes I can pull like a fun fact out that makes it look like I'm smarter than I am. But unless I look back at it, I will often get it wrong. But when I do know things, I can pull them out and make it look like I have more knowledge than I do. I really don't. I don't have encyclopedic knowledge of anything, unfortunately. Intolerance for injustice. Yes! Yes! Not saying I'm a perfect person, because I'm definitely not. However, ever since I became aware, like truly aware of racism and homophobia, transphobia, classism, all that, I have been a social justice warrior. I'm sure you can tell by looking at me. It's not a surprise to anybody. I remember the first time I found out people were still racist. I was gagged. I was floored. And I still feel this way. And I genuinely feel like if everyone had the same thought process that I do, we'd all be hunky-dory. I do not review conversations. The only time I do it is when it's with a new person and something happened to make me feel like I accidentally offended them. I generally think I'm pretty good at reading people, so I am going to count this one. I feel like I can tell when someone is blowing smoke up my ass or just trying to be overly nice, but they're actually like very nasty, and I catch that, but not everyone does, and it is very frustrating for me. So that one is 3 for autism, 2 for neurotypical. Saying these are signs of autism in adults. So once again, I take people very literally. Saying this is a sign of autism and not a commonly found trait in autistic people or a coincidence or whatever. See, that's where it's like, okay, so if I'm neurotypical, but I do these things, I'm gonna say, oh, I got a bit of autism. That is what bothers me, is people saying, we've all got a bit of autism, neurospicy, all that, making it so cutesy when it's something that has been debilitating for me, still can be, and I'm like level 1, basically at the ground floor of autism. So actually some comments on here are kind of agreeing with me, which I feel a little vindicated. Someone said, researching a product before you buy it is just common sense. What's next? Having a pulse is a sign of autism. Someone said, these are all very common human traits. I do a lot of these and don't have autism. I'm not autistic, but I do all of these. Looking up a menu. If it's a restaurant I've never been to before, or I haven't been there in a long time, I'm gonna look up the menu. That's because I'm picky. Because of autism, maybe. That in itself is not a sign of autism. That's a byproduct of having the sensory issues associated with autism. Something that many, many people just do just to feel more prepared. I look up the menu at restaurants. I don't research products heavily before I buy them. I don't know what heavily means either. No, I don't. If I see something, I'm gonna get it, and that's a problem. Being sensitive to substances. Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna say yeah, I'm a bit of a lightweight. Having huge compassion for suffering. I really don't think I do. When I see injustice playing out in front of me, I get very angry. If I hear someone saying something that's not right, I get very upset. And I do contribute where I can to help. I don't think I'm overly empathetic. I don't have a high pain tolerance at all. When I got this tattoo, girl, oh my god, I didn't think I was gonna make it. I have an extremely low pain tolerance. I got my second holes pierced on my ears. It was like, oh my god. I think as I get older too, it's gotten worse. Not missing people when they're gone. Unfortunately, yeah, I live with my mom, but I lived somewhere else for a while. And when I think about it, I feel terrible, but I didn't really like miss people that much. I would hang out with my sister and like do stuff here and there, but I don't remember it being especially difficult for me and really missing people and feeling their absence. Abandoning conversations. Yeah. We went over that. Yeah, I do that. Writing down a script to leave a voicemail, that is something I used to do when I was a very anxious teenager, but I don't do that anymore. I know what I need to say. I just had to call today to reschedule a dental appointment, and I just called and I was like, hey, this is my name, this is my phone number, I need to reschedule, preferably for this day at this time, thank you. And it's not really a problem for me, which I'm very thankful for. It makes my life a lot easier to be able to do that. Feeling like you are an alien, I have expressed feeling like a robot before, so I'm going to count that one. Knowing everyone but not having many friends. Yeah, I knew a lot of people in high school, and a lot of people knew me, but I did not have many friends. I was insufferable. That is 6 for autism and 4 for neurotypical. The one we're on now. This one is like the only one I saw that I was actually like kind of annoyed by. I'm not going to say anything yet. I'll let it play. Give me your thoughts. Let me know what you think.
That autistic people shrug their shoulders differently. Let me show you. Sometimes when an autistic person is confused, they will shrug their shoulders like this. You want to know what a neurotypical person does when they shrug their shoulders? That's what they do. Nothing. Because they don't shrug their shoulders. Shrugging your shoulders when you're confused is only something that happens in cartoons. It doesn't really happen in real life. Autistic people just see it in cartoons and assume that that's a normal thing to do. They don't really realize that that's not really what you do in real life. And I have a couple of theories why this is, but first I want to tell you about something else. Another thing that we autistic people learn from cartoons that people don't really do in real life is how we roll our eyes. Neurotypical people will do this. They literally just look up. We take everything so literally, and we saw it in cartoons, so we literally roll our eyes. Neurotypical people don't do that. But since autistic kids spend a lot more time with cartoon characters on their TV screen than with real kids out in the real world, I think that's why we pick up some of these habits, because we see it on TV and we're with our TV character friends watching like SpongeBob or like whatever shows kids watch more often than we are with like the real kids.
All right. Now that we've watched that, I completely disagree. Maybe I'm biased, but I have seen supposed neurotypicals in my family shrug. I shrug in a very exaggerated way. Someone commented this picture. I shrug exactly like this. I go, oh. And it reminds me of that one streamer. And he was talking about like, oh, if you get pulled over, just play stupid and be like, ooh, ooh, ooh. I'll put the clip in, because it's really funny to me.
You know how fast you were going? Number one, you just go. Like it's the first time you've been on Earth. I don't know. You were going 12 over? Really?
I can't vibe with this. I cannot co-sign this one as a member of the board of autistics. I don't actually have any authority, but this and I've seen the rolling your eyes thing a lot, and I mean, it's obviously a common experience. I would roll my eyes I would roll them like that when I was a kid. Probably around the time I became a teenager and began rolling my eyes like with a passion for the love of the game. I do like a, like, did I roll them? The way he imitated it was not, it's not just looking up, it's like, but maybe I'm still rolling them. Maybe. I'm gonna say, if shrugging my shoulders makes me autistic, that's 1 point for autism. I don't roll my eyes like that, so that's 1 point for neurotypical. I should have been keeping track. I'm gonna go through and I'm gonna tally everything up, and I will be back with the results in a moment. Okay, so I just tallied everything up. I used my little pen that my sister got me. Isn't he so cute? I am autistic. I got 33 points for autism. I got 19 points for neurotypical. How about that? Thank you for playing along. If you did, let me know what your score was. And thank you for watching if you watched this far. I do plan on doing more videos like this. I'm a little nervous because I feel like I know I am autistic, so I can speak on things in the autism community. And let me know what you think about this. I saw a bunch of discourse about this in the comments while watching these videos, and a lot of people do feel like this is quirkifying it. This is making it sound like it's just like cutesy little traits, like I'm autistic GF, and it kind of downplays the effects of autism on day-to-day life. But then also other people feel like it normalizes it, and it shows that, you know, it's not all meltdowns and the negative aspects of it and, you know, outbursts and eloping and all that we can live with it and be okay. I did kind of start leaning more towards that point, but I also do find myself getting very annoyed. Before I knew I was autistic, but I suspected it, I started living accordingly. I started using coping strategies meant for autistic people to help address my sensory needs and my social needs and this and that, and it made my life a lot easier. And even if I didn't end up getting that diagnosis, even if I was found to not be autistic, I would probably keep doing it because it made my life easier, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And if watching these videos helps you, you know, why not? That's it. Thank you for watching, and I will see you when I upload again. Yeah, all right. Love you. Bye.